Okay, the first thing I'm going to open up the practice with is going back to the cave, because when we were at the Vasista cave, we did a silent walk down to go ahead and start to practice that type of reverence for that space. But realize that Rishikesh, we talked about it being the land of the gods, the home of the sages, and all along the Ganges River, in all the different caves and all the hilltops at the foothills of the Himalayas, this is where the saints and sages would come and live and meditate and practice. And most likely write, because the original sages wrote the Rig Veda. And the Vedas are one of the oldest scriptures and writings that they have discovered on earth. So it goes back a long, long time. So that's why I really wanted us to be in silence, moving down into that space, so that we could go ahead and start quieting the mind and kind of preparing ourselves for this really special place. But we did learn a little bit from our guide how Vasisti was with Rama and Sita, and we learned that he had at one time tried to commit suicide in the rivers, where the three rivers meet. And the rivers rejected that notion and spit him right back out, like, not today. Because he had work to do, he had a purpose, he had dharma that he had to fulfill. But there was one sage, and his name, I gotta look down at it, Vishvamitra, that they were kind of at odds with each other. And the one that's hard to say, he was the one that wrote the Yantra Mantra. So if you remember, those of us that came to the first class that we attended here in this space, in the hotel, at the very end, he asked to join in the Yantra Mantra. I'm gonna sing that towards the end so that you have that reminder. But the one that he was kind of at odds with was the one that wrote that. I'm not really warmed up, and I'm not sure if I can do it, but it's that really fancy pose named after the second one that I was mentioning. You can do this from side angle as well. I'm just gonna do it from this position where you lift a foot and extend out. But you've probably done it or seen it from a side angle pose too. So the sage that he was at odds with, that's the pose that's named after him. So for instance, if you were studying the Vedas and if you were studying the scriptures that he wrote, which I believe was the Mandala 3, then when you're in that pose and you're striking it, you're being contemplative about the writings, about the sage, about his life. So it's not just, can I do this pose? Are my hamstrings open? It's being reflective on the history. Same thing with Vasista. We were doing that a lot. We were they were calling it mountain pose, and then we were coming down and doing this number today at the ashram, and this is the more modified version, the side plank here, and there's other variations to it. But that's Vasisti. That's the cave we actually went to. So I'm telling you this because anytime you're on the mat and you're about to do that position, or you're being asked to go into that position, you can reflect back on what you gained from sitting in the cave, from being in that meditation, from what you received from it. I mean, you have a first-hand experience now that you can take with you and take it forward into your practice, which is really cool. Okay, I want to recap very briefly the story that backed up the goddess temple that we went to today. So you remember that there was a couple wanting to have a child and they were paying their penance, and the goddess came to them and said, okay, what is your wish? What would you like? What can I do for you? And they said, we want to have a child. We want her to be like you. And then they had a daughter, Sita. wasn't Sita, Sati. And when Sati was born, you know, there was kind of a clause to it that the parents couldn't disappoint. Otherwise, she would leave, she would depart. And so as the daughter began to grow older, you know, she wanted to marry, and she wanted to marry someone specific, and it was Lord Shiva. And Shiva, we've mentioned, was a little bit of a wild man. You know, he wore ashes, representative of being grounded, representative of the dissolution, the whole birth, life, death, rebirth concept, this secular time. He liked to hang out with ghosts. He wore skulls. He had dreadlocks. I've heard he smoked the ganja as well. And he would sit in meditation for long periods of time. He would go out with his group of guys and they would go hunting. And, you know, Shivites will eat meat. You know, we learned that here as well. So that's who she wanted to be her beloved. And her parents weren't so sure about her pick. And they weren't so happy with the one she chose, but they had to allow her to do this. So she gets to marry Shiva after she pays a penance, and he comes to her, what would you like? I want to marry you, Shiva. And he chose her. He said, yeah, he obliged. So the dad was having this big celebration. He invited a bunch of people to come, and he did not ask his daughter, and he certainly did not ask Shiva. Well, when the daughter found out and discovered this was occurring, she was devastated. She was upset. She shows up at this big party, this big celebration, and they're having the sacrificial fire, and she decides to be the sacrifice, to throw herself into the flames. And as her body's getting charred, Shiva discovers what happens. And when Shiva shows up and discovers what happened, he's angry, he's pissed, he's grieving. It's his wife. And out of one of his dreadlocks, the guy today said dirt. I've heard it's a piece of the dread. Either way, something fell from his hair. And out of that, Virabhadra was born, the warrior. And the warrior came to strike the head off the dad to make him pay for what had happened. Now, so this is warrior 2. And then he gets the head, puts it on a stake for everyone to see. Don't mess with Shiva. Warrior 3. So I don't want you to think about the killing part when you're in the warrior poses, but maybe think about what is so important to you. Maybe think about what it is you're willing to fight for, because we're all fighting different battles in life. Maybe think about what you may be grieving, what you're holding on to. Because remember, he did bring the dad back to life. Just like he did with Ganesha. He found a goat and put the goat head, and so the dad could survive and continue to live. So that temple that we went to today, when Shiva took the remainder of his wife's corpse and he went up and he started to dance the Tandavan. And whenever you see Shiva in that ring of fire, sometimes we call it Ananda Tavan, and it's the dance of bliss, but it's also the dance of creation, and it's also the dance of destruction. And as he started doing the dance, the gods were like, whoa, wait a minute, he's about to destroy everything. Perfect timing, right?
Destroy everything.
Talk about synchronicity. Thank you, universe, for that. It'll come back in a minute.
Oh.
So to block that, gods come in, sever up the body, disperse it away from him, and thus the holy spots. And you guys, we were at the temple of her chest. To me, that's the most important one. It holds the heart. The heart that allows us to love, the heart that allows us to express, the heart that allows us to drop in. I feel like we went to the most important one. I'll share a little bit more in our closing circle. We're going to bring a little bit of this into our practice today. I thought I would do yin, but the yin really doesn't go with the story, you guys. So start in a sitting position. And I'm going to pass out a little slip of paper. Sorry, if we were home, I would have typed it out neatly. But at the ashrams that we were fortunate enough to practice in, each one of those teachers started with a chant, you know it. This is a simple one. And it's yoga citta vritti nirodha. Before you recite it, it means yoga is the lessening of the fluctuations of the mind. My teachers would take that farther to say yoga is also the lessening of the agitations of the body and the neutralization of the vortexes of emotion. Yoga brings us back into that neutrality, back into that state of harmony, so that we can step back into the bliss. So I wrote it down in case you can't get it right away. And we're going to start with this. And we're going to do it together. Yoga citta vritti nirodha. Yoga citta vritti nirodha. Fixate your gaze somewhere. Yoga citta vritti nirodha. Yoga citta vritti nirodha. Yoga citta vritti nirodha. Yoga citta vritti nirodha. Three more. Yoga citta vritti nirodha. Yoga citta vritti nirodha. You're going to take Vishnu Mudra. First two fingers, last two fingers coming together. We're going to do alternate nostril breathing. So we'll take the thumb, hold down the right nostril. Breathe in through the left side. When you complete the inhale, swap the fingers, open the right, and breathe out. Inhale through the right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Exhale right. Try to strengthen and lengthen your breath. Breathing in through the right. Out through the left. In left, gazing in and up to the mind's eye. And when you breathe out to the right, you're going to lean to the right thigh and knee. Inhale to the top. Exhale, lean left. Continue. Each time you breathe out, you're rocking over to that side of your lap. Infusing yourself with prana as you inhale. Releasing toxins on the exhale. Rhythmic breathing, matching rhythmic motion. Anchoring into your body. Tuning into yourself. Balancing, harmonizing the energy, as well as the brain. The next time you exhale to the left, remove the mudra from the face, and inhale, come back to center. Sit for a moment with your eyes closed, and just notice the result. And then crack the eyelids open, and you're going to move, I'm gonna try to mirror you, you're gonna move counterclockwise, doing like a cat-cow, circling your ribs. So think about your rib cage. So we're not leaning forward, only with the chest, not the waist. It's like you're circling around your tailbone. Keep it going. It's almost like a hula hoop, except it's your ribs instead of your hips. And then reverse it, so now you're going clockwise. I don't know if you noticed down at the RT, but they were spinning in a clockwise direction. And I'm sure you're well versed in yoga enough to know they honor the elements. And the elements are all represented within, and within a lot of the symbolisms. So it shows yoga has its roots in shamanism. Keep it going clockwise. For some reason I have Happy Day song in my head now. Round and rock, around the clock. All right, gently come back to center. And then I want you to start to do the other variation of this Kriya, where you're keeping the spine a little bit straighter and you're circling around your lap and you are leaning forward, but we're gonna go counterclockwise first. So over the right thigh, to the left side, and then back up. So this time we are moving more from the hips and the waist. This is good for the adrenal glands, it's good for the kidneys. And then we're going to take it clockwise. So just keep it rolling. Just reversing directions. And feel free to go at whatever pace feels good to your body. So you can be very slow, you can be moderate, and you can actually be quite quick with your movement. But whichever style you choose, synchronize it with your breath. In other words, if you're moving faster, your breath is shorter. If you're moving slower, your breath is longer. So the inhale always takes us to the top, and then the exhale drops us down and around. 3 more. And then come back up to sit. Flip your hands open. Bring your hands to Jnana Mudra, representing wisdom, overcoming the ego, connecting to the divine, and close your eyes. Notice any sensation. Notice where the energy is traveling, and try to magnetize the energy up towards the third eye. This place where we've been getting blessed by the priests at the temples. And I want you to gaze into your mind's eye, and that trident that we've had many times at the brow. I want you to visualize you're pulling that trident in towards the pineal gland at the center of your head, and it's becoming 3D or third dimensional, and it's spinning clockwise. It can represent the past, the present, the future. It can also represent transformation, secular time. Invite it in and let it spin. Barely open the lids of the eyes, where the eyes are half mask, and you're gazing several feet in front of you at one particular spot. And wrap your arms around behind your back. Clasp a hold of your forearms or elbows if possible. And lift up through your heart center, but allow your shoulders to soften. Let your head rise up and your sits bones root down. And then start to turn towards the right thigh, bow over it, and drape your head. Soften your face, your jaw. And concentrate on breathing. Avoid the cheeks tightening. Let them be soft and loose. Inhale, come up. Exhale, we're taking it over to the left. Bowing down, hinging forward, releasing the head and the neck. Just let it fall heavy towards the knee. Doesn't have to touch. But form that relationship with your breath. Allow your next inhale to bring you upright. And as you exhale, we're going to come straight down the middle. As you're bowing forward, just reflect on the time that we've had together, the travel, the meetup, the flight to Rishikesh, the places we visited, the classes we've taken, the temples we visited, the rituals we witnessed and even participated in, the offerings you made, the wishes you made, that which goes beyond maybe the material items that were bought today. And have an attitude of gratitude for our time here, for being called here, for the history here, for the friendships that we made on the streets, for the laughter, for the tears, for the bonds. And then on your next inhale, slowly start to lift. And release your arms. Come back to Yagana Mudra. Sit attentively at the third eye. And just think for a moment as you come up to the scalp of your head. Think about that symbol of Ganga resting on Shiva's crown. The stories that were told the other day about the Milky Way coming down through his hair, turning into this river, flowing down the Himalayan mountains, and how water equates to life. Imagine that water streaming down the sides of your body, sitting like a mountain, with your hips encrusted into the earth, your arms sloping down to your lap, your head being its peak. And think of the peaks that were snow-capped that we saw today from the top of the temple. Picture that in your mind's eyes if you were looking towards the horizon. And then open up the eyes. We're going to come up to stand. I'm going to get the body moving a little bit more. When you come up to stand, I do want you to separate your feet about as wide or slightly wider than your mat, where your heels are on and maybe the toes are turned away. All right, bring your hands to Namaste at the heart. And as you inhale, let the arms circle wide and up. And then as you exhale, bring the palms together, bend the knees, and you're coming down to Kali Goddess. So Durga, who the temple was dedicated to today, is kind of one and the same as Kali, right? Because Kali was born from Durga's anger when she was out in the battlefield. Inhaling up. Exhale, bring it down. Keep your knees and thighs open as you sit down with the hips. Activate that Ujjayi Pranayama. That's the breath that we did today at the ashram. The oceanic sounding breath. That's it. Good. Two more. This is one. Next one will be two. All right, inhale. This time the legs will straighten. The head will roll back as you look towards the wrists. And then as you exhale, you're bringing it down, 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 deeper until you can touch the ground. All right, inhale, you're bringing your hands up to your heart. Exhale, push the hands out in front of you. Good. Inhale, bring the hands together. Exhale, push the palms out. Thanks, Julie, for modifying. I know you don't have space, I know. Inhaling up. Exhale, bring it down. All the way to touch the ground. And you can even gaze down. Inhale, hands up. Exhale, palms push out. Inhale, palms together. Exhale, wrist out. Good. We've been sitting on those buses. We need to open the hips. Inhale, draw it up. Exhale, keep the legs straight. Bring the hands down in front of the heart. Nice. All right. I know this is typically called goddess arms, and we can still call it goddess arms. So open out your arms like this, but I also want you to see the trident. We're making the trident here as well, but with our arms and our head. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, goddess pose. Good. Inhale over to one side. Back to center. Then to the other. Back to center. This is the new flow. Are you glad we went to the goddess temple? Mm-hmm. So you could do all these goddess poses. One more to each. Now bring your hands down. Lift your heels up. Val, I think I was with you coming up from the cave, wasn't I? Turn your fingers towards each other, cross them. We saw tons and tons of massive spiders.
Oh,
did y'all see them going back up the hill? So this is spider pose. I am shaking and quivering like no tomorrow. Woo! All right, heels down. And bring it all the way up. Bring the feet together. Shake it out. Tapas. Ooh, we're paying our penance now. All right, so we're going to go into something called dancing Indian pose. I'm going to call it dancing Shiva pose, but we'll also do the dancing Shiva that you know. We're going to bring the hands to the Apana Mudra. We saw this at some point this week. And ground your left foot. Bring the goddess arms up with the mudra. And you're lifting the right foot, flexing the ankle, and flaring open through the knee. And so we're going to imagine we're doing the Pandava. All right, the foot goes behind, you hinge forward, mudras, and face down. Bring it back up, balance, hold, breathe, and then return. Again, back up, hold and breathe a moment. Last one. Inhale. This also means compassion in action. And then release. So think about, in the stories, there's a lot of compassion in action. The gods didn't want Shiva to destroy everything, so they had to find a way to calm him down. All right, we're going to stand on the right foot. Bring the mudra back up. Lift the left foot. Flare the knee out. Breathe here. And when you're ready, take it back. Hinge it forward. Look down. Bring it back up on the inhale. And continue to breathe. Hinge forward, down, and then inhale, draw it right back up. Just one more on this side, but let's hold it here first. Strengthening the standing leg, remembering the symbolism, and one last round.
Awesome. We'll go into the dancing Shiva, you probably know. Standing on the left foot. Turn your right palm out. Catch the big toe side of your right foot. Take the left arm up with Jnana Mudra. Hinge forward, dancing Shiva. Inhale up. Exhale, release. Contemplate. Are you in the dance of creation, dissolution, or bliss? Second, stand on the right foot. Turn your left hand out. Catch the foot, big toe side. Right arm up, Jnana Mudra. Dancing Shiva. Exhale down. We're going to separate those feet one more time. And we're going to think we're like the drum. Okay? Arms up. Now, try not to let this occur. So we want the legs to be stable as the upper body twists. Okay, so arms up when you're ready. Might give you a little breeze as well. So your feet are firm. And with that firm foundation, keep your hips rolling open, legs sturdy, pelvis centered, and you're moving from the waist up. And just think about the drum we heard at the temple today, or the little boys at the arti that were playing with their drums behind us. The drum that gives the music for the dance, but also represents the rhythm of time. 3, 2, 1. All right, come to the top of your mat. Hands to prayer position at the heart. Inhale, arms up, upward worship. Exhale, hands down the middle and fold. In and halfway up and look out. Exhale, bow. Inhale to down dog, or what we now know as mountain pose. Spreading the fingers and making sure you're rooting through the base of your thumb and index finger. On your next exhale, down to knees. Bring the shoulders forward past the wrist. Keep your hips in the air. Drop your chest and chin, Ashtanga Pranam. Inhale, press up. Exhale, mountain or down dog. Breathe. Stretch your spine. Elevate your hips higher. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, knees. Chest, chin, Ashtanga Pranam. Elbows in. Inhale, press up. Exhale, cast the hips up and back, downward facing dog. And as you're holding your downward facing dog, let your head just naturally hang between the arms, neutralize the neck, set your drishti, eyes are open here. Deep breath in. Exhale, knees, chest, chin. Elbows knit into the side body. Good, this time, we're gonna untuck the toes, and we're gonna slither through to the belly, and we're gonna take the pose of prostration here. Arms out in front, down to the brow. Again, giving gratitude that we've been here on these sacred grounds. And we covered a lot of ground. Hands up underneath the chest and shoulders. Press up and back. Child's pose. Another pose for some humility, for some reverence, for the place we've been all week, for the stories we've heard, the people we've met, these memories to carry with us. Inhale, rock forward, tabletop. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot steps towards the front. Round it down. Bring the arms up, crescent. Exhale, hands to heart, and just barely bend the back knee. Inhale, bring it up. Exhale, hands to heart, bend the back knee. Again. Two more. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, hands plant. Step back, downward facing dog. Use that Ujjayi pranayama. Inhale, left foot steps forward. Bring it up to crescent. Exhale. Same sequence. You're breathing in, lifting the arms overhead, straightening the back leg. Exhale, the hands come to the heart, and the back knee barely bends. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands down. Step the back foot forward. Close down and into self. Opening up the back of the body. Considering all the walking, the hiking we did today. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, bring it down. Inhale to the top. Exhale, closing it out, hands to heart. Since I mentioned the warrior sequence, we're gonna do that. So keep the left foot in front, step the right foot behind you, have the front knee aligned over the ankle. So lift the arms up, Virabhadrasana 1. And so even though Virabhadra is that personification of anger and grief, we're trying to calm ourselves down. And the best way to do that is to just notice if you're grimacing the face, soften and relax the muscles, and ensure that you're not holding your breath. All right, pivot your back foot as you splay the arms open, Virabhadrasana 2, and look down the fire finger of that front hand. Bring that right arm around in front. Good. Spin to the ball of the back foot. Lift the arms up. Straighten the front leg. Exhale. Hinge forward, warrior three. Coming up with new life, arms down, right foot lands beside your left. Good, left foot back. Arms up. Virabhadrasana 1. Make sure that front knee is not caving in. And pivot your back foot. Arms play open, warrior two. Back arm around, hop on that ball of the back foot, arms lift up, front leg straightens out. When you're ready, warrior three. Arms down, foot down, head up. All right, hands to prayer. Inhale, reach the arms overhead. Exhale, coast down to the midline. Bow into self. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release. Inhale, step back. Downward facing dog. Exhale, come down to the knees. Bring the big toes together. Walk your hands back. Separate your thighs, nice and wide. You're gonna spin your fingers to face your body, and you're gonna lean forward into your wrist. Okay, so Petra and I went to the front entrance where most of the people were coming into the temple, and there were 2 lions. So Durga is sometimes depicted riding a tiger, and sometimes she's depicted riding a lion. It was lions, right? I remember them being lions. So we're gonna do, this is lion's pose. We're gonna do the lion's breath 3 times. All right, when you're ready, breathing in. Expel the tongue, breathe out. Again. Last one. Draw the knees together. Slither down into a prone position. Stack your forearms one in front of the other. Yep, just like that. And then lift the elbows up and then walk or slide the arms through and release your head. If you're holding in your belly or your low back or your buttocks, you can give a little wiggle to that area to make sure you're loosening it up. And then you can just relax and breathe. Feel free to close your eyes here. If you'd rather gaze towards one of the squares on your mat, you can find a drishti point. Make sure you feel movement in your core. So you're breathing down into the belly.
Notice which arm is out in front. Some of us may have the right, some of us may have the left. Just take a mental note of what it is for you. Relax as much as you can. As though you were holding a piece of Hershey chocolate in your mouth or in your hand and it's melting. Let your body melt down with this heat. With your submission and that sweet state of surrender. Start to lift the face up. Glide your arms in and take again a notice of which arm's out in front because we're going to switch it in a minute. Oh, shoot. What I wanted us to do, you may not have room for. It was broken wing. We'll leave it out. Swap the arms. Lift the elbows. Slide it out. We'll do a different twist. Come back down into the state of relaxation. You can use your breath to calm the mind and body. If your eyes are open, find your focal point. And if the eyes are closed, gaze in and up to the mind's eye. Since we're hearing the fireworks, if you're gazing into the mind's eye, you can just imagine seeing it in your third eye. Seeing the lights flare, or reflecting back on our Diwali celebration. Lift the head up, slide the hands underneath the shoulders. Now, I'm going to give you a choice. You can come through table, plank, or downward facing dog. Either way, but we're going to bring the left shin and knee behind the hands. And we're going to come down into our pigeon pose. We're just going to saturate and lubricate this hip here. And if you need to modify, you can, of course, flip on your back, follow Petra's lead.
Slow down your exhalations. Try to make them twice as long. We're going to transition to the other side. If you're on your back, you can just flip to the other side, but if you're going face down, pass through again, tabletop, plank, or downward facing dog, yogi's choice. Take your time setting up for the pose. So we haven't had a typical schedule. So just notice how your body may feel differently without perhaps a regular practice. Then I want you to reflect back on what the teacher was saying this morning about the koshas and how the yogis look at the body as having like 5 layers. The first layer is the really dense layer that needs to be fed by food, what needs exercise and rest, diet. The Annamaya kosha. And the second layer is the Pranamaya kosha. What gets fed by the breath. And how the breath can affect the nervous system and calm the mind and body. And the third layer being the mental Manomaya kosha, the thinking, the sensory, input, output. And the fourth layer being the layer of discernment and wisdom, which can override that or transcend that, or the intuitive nature. And the final layer being the layer of bliss. And you may jump back and forth between the different layers. You may find bliss, but then you go back to thinking mode. Or you may find bliss, and then all of a sudden you're embedded in sensation in the physical mode. stacking onto your palms, shifting back to your knees, stacking in a good tabletop position. We'll do our twist here. Flip your left hand and go into thread the needle. And this will be our final twist as well as inversion. Gives us a blend of both. If you'd rather do a supine twist or something different, that's fine. Inhale, we'll pass through center. Whichever twist you're holding, exhale to the other. Inhale, let's come out. As you exhale, you're going to come into a position for a Shavasana. So you can begin reclined butterfly. If you feel like you didn't get the hips enough, you could just be in the regular corpse pose. And so corpse pose actually began a long time ago as a meditation on death, not in the morbid sense, but to realize for themselves by going internal that there was something infinite within. And that infinite self is the inner witness. It is not your mind, it is not your thoughts, it is not your visions, it is not your movement, it is not your body, it's not even your heartbeat. It's the piece of you that's bearing witness to it all, internal and external. And when you discover that truth, you no longer fear death, because life goes on and on and on
Take a deep breath in through your nose, side out through your mouth. Bend your knees on your next inhale. Roll to your right and tuck your right arm underneath your head. Acclimate there first. And then go ahead and get up to take a formal seat. We're going to do a little bit of that breath of fire. So all you have to do is pump the belly in, forcing the exhale, finding a nice rhythm. Crack this door open again. See if that air will help you. Let's begin. Release. Breathe naturally. Bring your hands together to prayer. Thumbs to the center point of your chest. I'm going to chant the Yantra mantra, so you can just close your eyes and receive. If you know it, you can join along. Om Bhuva Swaha. Om Tat Savitor Varaniyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat